Hello, Jackie. And we have a Christmas special for you and our listeners this year. We recorded a couple of days ago an episode with Brandon Ganch, aka the Mad Fientist, who's made such a difference in so many people's lives in the Phi community. And he has an offer for us, exclusive to our listeners, essentially for Christmas, that we need to get out there, right, Jackie?
That's right. And he definitely had a huge impact on me. So we're at the end of the year. So whatever holiday you celebrate, this is the holiday season. And Brandon gave us the opportunity to share that he has a new album coming out. That is a big part of his post Fi life is his music. His first album did really, really well. I purchased it and I was so happy to support. And now he has a new one. So tell us about it, Bill.
Well, it's called One Equals Two. It's not out yet. I think it comes out December 1st or December 12th, but you can pre order it now on Spotify or Apple or Amazon Music. And we'll put the links in the show notes to this week's episode because this is time sensitive. He wants you to pre order it before December 12th because if you do that, you get access to his new software and app called wealthmachines.co. And we're going to talk about what this software is going to do for us, but you've got to get to it through ordering his EP and following him on Spotify so he can get to 1,000 followers to boost the sales of this album and hopefully reach the Billboard charts again.
Yeah, I'd say he's got some pretty decent marketing skills, but he knows he has quite a following in the Phi community, and we all want to support him. So, yeah, you did go through the process. I did pre order it. I have not sent my email yet. So, tell us about the process and how they go from following him and his music, pre ordering the album, to getting access to this new tool that he built. And he is a software developer. So, this is what he is known for.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to put links in the show notes because it's hard to label them or say them out loud. But you pre order the EP on the link we have in the show notes. You take your receipt from pre ordering it, that's $4.99, and then you send it to his email, madfientist.com, and we'll put that there as well. He sees the receipt, sends you a code. You go in to get authorized to access wealthmachines.co. And then basically, I think you have lifetime access. You don't pay a monthly fee. You become a special beta user of this software. And we're going to talk about now what it does.
Yeah, and Bill, I know we have a lot of our listeners that listen to Mad Fientist, and he doesn't come out with new podcast episodes very often, but he did a couple weeks ago. So we will include that in the show notes as well. But he talked a little bit more about this. So why don't you tell us what this wealthmachines.co actually does?
Yeah, Brandon came out of his cave of retirement and busyness of having kids, and he's back on the scene. And guess what? In the new year, we're going to release an episode with him, and he hasn't recorded an episode of a podcast in over a year. So we're very excited about that as a New Year's present to you. But wealthmachines.co is about spending your money in retirement. Brandon had a bit of trouble with this, and he's talked about it on his recent podcast that came out just a few weeks ago, as you said. And so he had to sort of hack his brain a little bit to go from saving and spending, or saving mode and frugality mode and scarcity mode, to spending and abundance mode in retirement. And he's using this software to help you do so. He has a couple of strategies in there. And so the old way was the nest egg strategy. Your focus at that point was deprivation, save, save, save. Your goal was a big, intimidating number, say 2 million or more. The timeline was enjoy life in 20 years. Let's wait to enjoy life. The feeling was, like our late starters, anxiety. Will I make it? Will my money last? And the metric here was net worth, which is really net wealth. Worth is not the appropriate word. So in summary, it's kind of static, boring, and locked away. So his new strategy is called the Wealth Machine strategy. And I love it that he called it the Wealth Machine because it's like a perpetual energy motion. And he has one of these on the front page of his website. So let's talk about the wealth machine strategy now, Jackie. The focus here, however, is utilization. Spend better while building wealth. The goal is cash flow from your assets. Okay, the timeline here is enjoy your wealth while it grows. The feeling it gives you is freedom and abundance. The metric is your expenses are covered. And in summary, it's active, it's exciting, and usable today. So we don't know what the software is. It hasn't been released. It's coming out in the very near future, but you get access to it early as a beta user. And if you're looking for ways to hack your brain to help you spend more and live your best life, this is maybe a way to do so. You know, there's an engine inventory, there's going to be custom dashboards, there's going to be tagging, and a forecast for your freedom that actually syncs with Projection Lab, that is a software DIYers use to map out their retirement plan. So this is really exciting.
Yeah, and needless to say, Bill, if you know the work of Mad Fientist, he has one of the brightest brains in the FI community. So he's put a lot into this, but that is just his nature. And our gift to you is in a couple of weeks, actually, our Christmas episode, which will air the Sunday before Christmas. We will bring you that episode, but we will talk a lot about this and we will really dig into Mad Fientist's life as it is today. And he'll talk a little bit about the Wealth Machine and his album and a whole lot of other stuff you don't want to miss.
Yeah, and the reason we're bringing this out in today's episode is you have until the 12th, less than a week, to go do these things we talked about in order to really get access to something that's brand new in this space and is a game changer potentially.
Yeah, and I can tell that you're really excited, Bill, because remember, our episodes come out on Sunday, the 7th. So you'll be hearing this on Sunday, and we are releasing it a little bit early. We were so excited, and we want to support Mad Fientist and all of his passions because he has given so much to this community.
Yeah, and if you follow his EP on the Spotify site and he gets to 1,000 pre-orders, you know, that just helps boost his sales. And he gives so much to this community. This is a way we can give back to him and say thanks.
Yeah, right now we are going to roll into this episode with Trae Bodge, and we're going to talk about some holiday shopping and gift giving. Stay tuned.
If you've got a shopping problem and you know who you are, if you're watching, you know, I would disconnect your payment details from every platform that you're shopping on. So to give yourself a little friction every time you're preparing to shop, you have to take out your credit card and enter your number again. That act alone can sometimes help prevent you from going overboard. I also do, you know, we talked about creating a shopping list for your recipients around the holidays and adding yourself to that list. If you have a shopping problem, you should set an allowance or a boundary for yourself for shopping every single month, because if you can only spend X dollars, you're going to spend much more mindfully versus just like, oh, let me treat myself today. It's Black Friday. I'd left my beauty company and I was getting ready to kind of embark on this, which I knew was coming. Like I had a sense that something amazing was coming, but you know, I kind of kept living the same way. And I think that's really hard for people when your financial situation has changed and yet you're in this social circle where everyone's renting a house in the summer or someone's getting married in Jamaica, and you're like, you want to do all the things and you don't want to have that FOMO, that fear of missing out, you know, so kind of agreeing to do these things that I knew were financially burdensome for me at the time, that was definitely a fail.
Welcome to Catching Up to FI, a podcast on mindset, money, and life for late starters of any age on their journey to financial independence. I'm Bill, and I'm a late starter.
I'm Jackie, and I'm also a late starter, and we're your host. We're here to help you on your journey to financial independence, no matter where you're starting.
We're going to talk to experts, other late starters, and explore topics related to our mission.
Join us as we catch up to FI together.
Hello and welcome back to Catching Up to FI. I'm Bill Yount with my lovely co-host, Jackie Cummins-Koski, who's visiting family down in Hilton Head. We're recording this just before Thanksgiving. It's the holiday season. It's shopping season. So what are we going to talk about today? Shopping. We have a nationally renowned expert on that. We haven't talked about shopping so much, right, Jackie?
That's right. We have not, but it's a big part of our spending, the psychology behind it. And we know that since it's the holidays, we are all spending a lot of money on friends and family. And sometimes that gets us off our track, and we don't want that to happen. So we brought in our shopping expert, Trae Bodge. She blogs over at truetrae.com. But not only that, she is all over. She's on CNBC, Good Morning America, a ton of publications like the New York Times, USA Today. So she is the go-to person when it comes to shopping and spending and all the tips and tricks. And we are going to squeeze every little bit of a tip and tricks that she has for us. So she is known for her clear, practical advice that helps consumers navigate everything from inflation to dynamic pricing to holiday shopping chaos. So we're excited to have her with us today, and she is going to share her best insights, and she's going to help you truly become a savvy shopper this holiday season. Now, she also co-founded One Take Media and helped launch the cult favorite cosmetic brand, Three Custom Color Specialists. Now, she recently launched something really exciting that we wanted her to talk about today, but it's called Threadneedle Alley Foundation. It is a nonprofit. You know, we like charities and nonprofits around here, but it provides grants and guidance to midlife entrepreneurs facing financial challenges. And that could be a lot of people in our audience. And what's really cool is that through December 31st, entrepreneurs that are over the age of 40 and up could earn a grant that she has available for $5,000. And she will tell us more about that in just a minute. But Trae, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Welcome to Catching Up to Five.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I mean, you admitted to us just before the show that you also are a late starter. That is our audience. Those are our people. And we're here to inspire them and give them ways to catch up, like cutting spending. But your story, we want to hear what your early financial life was and your fumbles and mistakes, how you recovered, your resilience. Take us back in time. And you're not too old, so you can still remember.
I hope so.
What happened in the family? What were your foundational money scripts and stories?
Yeah, I did make some pretty big mistakes in my early 20s. I grew up, I think, with staunchly middle class. My parents always instilled in me that it was important to work hard and get good grades and go off to college and all of those things. But as soon as I was on my own, I realized that I didn't have any real financial foundation. And so I made a lot of mistakes and then had a sort of a mishap situation with a boyfriend. I had bad credit for 7 years, couldn't get a lease myself, and I was looking for an apartment, just all sorts of things like that, digging myself out of credit card debt, paying off student loans. And so that rough start, I feel like, was the first inspiration for what I do now. After the sort of my financial mishaps, my two friends and I started Three Custom Color Specialists, the cosmetic brand. And I was still like not so savvy when we started our business. And we became savvy very quickly because we were bootstrapped and just trying to figure out how to make our money go farther with this brand. But when I left that brand, it was kind of like I'd hit a bit of a professional wall. I felt like there was more that I wanted to do, so much that I wanted to learn. And I just kind of started writing budget-friendly content for a few different websites. It was just kind of randomly. And then I became the spokesperson for Retail Me Not, which was early days for that coupon site back in 2010, maybe 2011. Worked for them as their spokesperson for a couple of years, learned all the ins and outs of budget-friendly reporting. I was on the news a lot. I was doing a lot of media. They had a big budget, so it was fun to kind of watch them spend that money to get me out there. And it was like boot camp. And then they had a layoff in about 2015. And throughout this, I was becoming much more savvy financially. I righted the ship, if that's the correct term. And I was able to go into this new career with reporting on TV about how to save money, how to shop smart, how to make savvy choices. And so I talk really about shopping and retail, but also about parenting and just making those smart choices financially. My husband and I are in our late 50s, and our plan is for an early retirement. And it looks like we're going to hit that. And so we're very excited to retire early. And we have these other projects that we want to do, including Threadneedle Alley Foundation, which is the nonprofit that I founded this year.
Wow,
Wow.
that's a great story. I
It
mean,
is.
it's really resilient because what I found in my life is you're supposed to save first and spend last so that your future self comes first. But as a child, I think parents need to teach their kids how to spend in value based ways first. Spending in development comes first because I think it's a big curiosity and conundrum. Is that the way you did it with your kids?
Yeah, so I have one daughter, and I encounter this so much, especially when kids are teenagers. They learn very quickly if they can kind of work you as a parent with the best intentions. But like, am I going to be able to convince my mom to let me order in DoorDash 5 times a week or not? And so we were pretty clear with our daughter very early on that yes, you can go out and treat yourself periodically. But what we found to be very, very effective is to put the onus on her. So instead of her coming to us every few days, like, Mom, I need $20 for pizza. Mom, I need $30 for this. We just gave her a little bit more of a generous allowance that she had to earn by doing chores around the house. And I think that's kind of a controversial topic. So I'm not 100% team chores. We were in our house. But by giving her the money to spend, we said, this is your allowance that you've earned every week. You spend that money to go out for pizza with your friends or Starbucks or wherever you want to go. And the difference for a child, a young person, between spending their money versus your money is there are miles between it. It is night and day. And that for us was the way for her to become more of a mindful spender. So she's not going to go and spend $20 on pizza. She's maybe going to eat at home and then maybe get one slice and a drink instead of a whole pie. They spend very differently when that money is coming out of their wallet. And if there is one piece of advice for the parents out there is to put the onus on your child, put that money in their wallet to spend versus Apple Pay on your phone, right? Like, because I think when it's nebulous and it's coming out of your money, they don't see that it's burdensome, right? When they're spending it, it is burdensome. So that is my number one tip for parents. And it's a game changer, especially when they go off to college as well. Spending their own money versus your money, it is night and day.
Yeah, I think that is a huge game changer. And that's a question we get all the time. How do you start teaching your kids about money? What are some of the best ways? So I appreciate you dropping that tip. And one thing that I did, so my daughter's a little bit older than yours. I
Mhm.
have one daughter as well, but now I just became a grandma a few weeks ago.
So exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. So now I got things to teach the grandbaby too. But one thing that I did, we didn't do everything perfect. One thing I think was really, really helpful. I remember when it was the holidays or her birthday, I told her, I said, okay, now so that you can make room for the new toys or the new clothes, we got to get rid of some of all this stuff and we're going to donate it. And there'll be kids that will love to have your stuff. So every year we had the ritual of clearing out things in her closet because otherwise there's no room for the new stuff. And I think that stuck with her. And those little things, they do kind of make a difference, but it is so hard trying to teach our kids, not to mention ourselves and the issues we have to deal with.
Yeah, and I got it all wrong. I mean, my wife and I, we were consumption and spend first. We had twins, which made it exponentially different. The birthdays were double the trouble, 30 kids bringing in gifts, and Christmas was the trees were surrounded with stuff. And we didn't do the donation thing. And in retrospect, it was kind of like it's okay to be parsimonious and be selective and not overwhelm them. And the kids like the boxes best when they're small.
Right.
They don't need a lavish amount of presents. And I know we were doing it more for us. It wasn't sort of intentional, value based, where it was like not over the top. And people get into that struggle as parents. And then you end up right in credit card debt because guess what? We didn't save for these presents. It became a big credit card bill in January. And now I'm the king of sinking funds.
Yeah.
So we pre save cash in our sinking fund for those gifts for birthdays during the year and at the end of the year. So it's already paid for. It's not something that comes as a surprise in your cash flow. Do you recommend that as well?
I do. So, well, first of all, between the two of you, you just brought up so many good points. You know, Jackie, I love that you were doing the donating. And I wish I had learned that earlier to clear the clutter because then their rooms just become overwhelmed. I think it's great to clear that space out, to get them into the mindset that they can part with things. I think that's fantastic. And then that brings up another point about sort of the secondhand or donation market. My daughter now basically, I'd say like 90% of what she buys is secondhand. And she's very inexpensive. Like she's off buying things for herself and she pays for herself, but she doesn't spend a lot because she's very careful about what she buys. So I love that whole aspect. I think it's better to go into these big gift giving holidays, whether it's a birthday, especially if you have twins or multiple kids, or going into the Christmas or Hanukkah holidays, to have a fund and then kind of backing out of the fund. You have $200 to spend, you can divvy that up between the people that you have on your list, and that's what you have to spend. It's a finite amount versus just spending and then turning around and looking at your credit card debt that you're bringing into next year and going, uh-oh, I overdid it. So I love preparing for those big gift giving holidays in that way.
Yeah, I mean, with the credit card interest, if you can't pay it off and your cash flow is not there, you're paying more for all this crap that you're going to donate the next year when your kids are small. There's so many ways to prevent overspending. I think it's what we're talking about. Credit card is out of sight, out of mind. You're not really checking it until the end of the month often, unless you're tracking your expenses with, say, something like Monarch Money, for example, which we do. So tracking it along the way, checking in on your money every day, having a pre-saved amount, using a budgeting app where there's a cube, for example, where it's like, you know what? I can't go over that, or I have to rob from Peter to pay Paul and take from another part of my budget in order to meet that, so that we're spending cash on the things that are important to us in a value-based way, so that we have a cap, we have a ceiling. It's like going to the casino. If you don't go into the casino with $200 I'm going to play with, guess what? You're going to hit the debit card machine and just keep racking up that debt.
Yeah, so from what you were just saying, I have a couple of questions. So you said that your daughter buys secondhand. My daughter seemed to absolutely love it too. Like she goes to Plato's Closet and now Once Upon a Child. I mean, I think it would be a good thing if now all of a sudden buying secondhand is the trend. So is that something you're seeing more of now?
It's a huge trend, believe it or not, and even last year I was talking about this as a trend for gifting, and people were looking at me sideways, but you could go into a Plato's Closet and find clothes with tags on that you could give to someone as a gift, and they will have no idea that it's secondhand. Or going into a giant Goodwill with their home decor section, they'll have really unique, unusual things for that stylish home decor buff on your list. There are a lot of easy ways to do that. There's a company that I work called mpb.com, and they specialize in gently used camera equipment. And if you've got a teen on your list who wants to play around with photography, why not give them a gently used camera that's up to 40% off versus a brand new camera? So I love the whole secondhand market in general.
Yeah, I mean, what if you're like us, though, and my wife and I were into retail? We're at the Gap, Old Navy. If you're going to go retail and you're not going to go into the secondhand market, how do you save money there? Because you don't have to pay top dollar, right?
You don't. And that's a great point. Secondhand is not for everyone. I love secondhand just because I'm on TV all the time, and the pieces that I wear, this is secondhand for sure. This is secondhand. And I get them for a fraction of the cost. I'll change my clothes 4 times a day this week with all the TV I'll be doing, but it's not for everyone. And sometimes people prefer something new. And so first of all, I think it's really important, if you are buying new clothes, to buy high quality clothes rather than fast fashion. Buying something that's going to last you many years versus today, right? So that's approach number one. Then also wait for those sale moments. Around the holidays, we're going to see lots of sales coming and going. So you can save quite a bit at the Gap if that's your favorite spot to go. They'll be having sales all throughout December. So wait for those sales, save that way, use a credit card that gives you points or miles, so you're getting some bang for your buck there. Use deal sites, especially one that has a browser plugin, like there are so many, like Rakuten or Coupon Cabin or PayPal Honey, and use those when you're shopping online. Then you'll automatically be alerted to available savings like cash back opportunities, coupons that you can layer in to those retailer sales. Those are just a few of the things that I like to do. And lastly, if you're, say, an avid Gap shopper, make sure you belong to their loyalty program so you can earn points as you spend and get maybe a free birthday gift or exclusive savings around certain sale periods. So those are all the things that I like to kind of roll into my my shopping process to make sure that I'm saving as much as possible, especially because we're seeing a lot of tariff related price hikes right now, especially in apparel. A lot of apparel is imported and consumers are bearing some of the brunt of that right now.
I am so excited to announce our new partnership at Catching Up to Fi with Monarch. Monarch is a comprehensive financial tool to monitor your financial health and life. I have been using Monarch for 3 years to track my spending, net worth, budget, savings goals, and more. I am not a spreadsheet nerd, and without Monarch's robust, intuitive tools and user interface, this process would have seemed impossible. I was recently also able to seamlessly share my data with our new flat fee financial planner for a retirement readiness checkup when I turned 60. He uses Monarch with all of his clients. After our analysis, I was shocked to find out that we were financially independent 3 years before I thought we would be. You can't manage what you don't measure. Using Monarch was critical in this review and planning process. It remains important in monitoring my ongoing financial health. Thanks to Monarch, all of our podcast listeners and community members have access to a 50% discount off their first year subscription. Simply follow the link below and use the discount code CatchingUp50 at checkout. I am proud to say that my sons are the first to use the code to join the Monarch family. I encourage you to share this link and code with family and friends this holiday season who need or want to take back their money and grow their wealth. I cannot think of a better, more generous or valuable gift or resolution. Happy holidays from all of us at Catching Up to Fi.
So Trae, you dropped a lot of stuff on us. I want to make sure we catch it all. Now, and just one last word on the secondhand stuff. I think it's more of a fashion trend where kids can get more unique and original than anything else. Like my daughter, she loves pulling together these unique outfits, and she can get sometimes things at a secondhand place that she can't find in the major box retail. So I don't think it's just about the money. It sounds like that's not the case with your daughter either. Okay, so I've heard of these browser extensions and the price history. Like what I'm loving now is the price history things. So most people these days are doing their shopping online. We wish that we're all early shoppers and we had everything locked down, but we're not. We know that we're not. So tell us about the newest and the best when it comes to browser extensions, when it comes to like looking up price histories and things like that to be a savvy online shopper and get it done for as cheap as we can.
Sure. So there are a lot of browser plugins for deal sites, and they're all a little bit different. I do recommend installing maybe 2. I have probably 5, which is overkill, but this is what I do for a living. But, you know, it could be PayPal, Honey, Rakuten, Retail Me Not, Coupon Cabin, Shopback is a newer one. Just install a couple of those. And then as you're shopping, a browser extension makes your browser smarter. It finds opportunities for you to save. And so you'll just be shopping at your favorite online store. You'll get a little pop-up and it'll say, hey, there's a coupon here for 20% off, or there's a free shipping offer, or there's cash back that you can earn here. And you just click the button to activate it and it works for you in the background. So for me, this is one of the easiest ways to save. So that's browser plugins or browser extensions. And then you were talking about, Jackie, price history. So Yahoo Shopping and Google Shopping are both really helpful for price history. If there's a specific item that you're looking for, you can enter the name of that item within that platform and it'll let you know kind of where it's being sold and for how much. It'll give you a sense of this is a historically high price or historically low price. Sometimes there are coupons that you can click on. And then thirdly, we have AI, and AI is working with all of these tools already. But like as a consumer, you're now empowered to go straight to, say, a ChatGPT and ask questions of that tool. It's getting better on the pricing front because it's kind of drinking from the same trough as all of the websites, right? So more and more, like Gemini is pretty good. You can enter a prompt like, I have twin girls, they're 16 years old, they're really into science. You know, can you give me some gift suggestions of items that are under $50? And Gemini or ChatGPT, these tools will give you recommendations, and now they're growing very quickly. They'll give you specific products, links to them that you can click on and go, and maybe even a coupon. So it's getting very sophisticated AI. So that's another kind of place I would dabble in if you're interested in using technology to help you save as you shop.
See, Bill, you could have used that.
I've become a big fan of AI. I mean, I'm using it more and more. It is my browser of choice. And just
Right.
like you said, you write out a specific question, make it as specific as possible, and then all this stuff pops up. I found my new financial advisor, and yes, I'm a trader, I'm a DIY trader, but I used AI to find a very specific person and with very specific questions, and then it iterated to help me narrow it down. And
Oh,
lo and behold, at the top of the list was the perfect person to match up with me and my personal needs. And that is true for shopping, obviously. Maybe you don't know what you want and you need ideas, or maybe you have a specific question, like you said, and then you find the cheap way to do it. One thing I've done, and the browser extension is really nice, I guess, because it automatically reminds you, there are codes. But when I'm
yeah.
shopping, I'll try and say, you know what? They have this coupon code. Let me Google real quick, recent coupon codes on this site for this item. And then all of a sudden, you're getting 20, 30, 50% off. And all you had to do was one extra step, and it's comparison shopping. And we forget, we older people like me who are not as savvy and late starters, I forget that I can do this cheaper. My sister's really good at it. She's a negotiator. She's a bargain hunter. She does it with everything. And for some reason, I haven't been possessed by that. Maybe because I'm a man and I'm not the primary shopper.
You know what, Bill? Remember when your nieces were graduating from high school, you're trying to figure out what to get them. Is that right? They were your nieces that graduated from high school?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, you were asking this very question, like, I'm not sure what to get them. And you ended up getting them some books and things like that. And I guess, Trae, so we're a financial show. So I hear the question a lot about whether it's birthdays, Christmas, or whatever. They want to get their loved ones, sometimes it's a kid or somebody younger, they want to get them a gift that is financially focused, that's going to help them, teach them about compound growth or something around getting their finances together while they're young. Oftentimes, they're suggesting a book. I don't know if book is always the right thing, but what are your thoughts around some kind of financially focused gift to encourage them to learn about personal finance?
Yeah, I think a book is a great idea. There's a book by, I don't know if you guys know Bobby Rebel, but she's a certified financial planner, and she has a book. She has Raising Financial Grown-Ups and How to Be a Financial Grown-Up. And she'd kill me, I don't remember the name of the book. But there's one, I'm pretty sure, for young people. And there are plenty of great books out there for that.
Right.
So I think a book is a great thing to do. Or, you could get them started with, an investment account. I like Acorns, actually. It's an incremental savings app. I've been using it for years. And you can get an account for a young person and put a little money in there. And that's like a spare change app. So it just saves as you go, as you've paired it with your debit card, something like that. Or if you have another favorite investment platform, maybe giving them a little head start on something like that, especially one that's geared to younger people. So it's easy to understand, but they're way more tech savvy than we are, right? Like I'm in my late 50s. I'm like figuring this out as I go, but younger people, they grew up with their phones in their hands. So they're very savvy. I don't know if we give them enough credit, right? Like they could figure this out very quickly, is my guess.
Yeah, and I have to out Jackie here because the gift I gave my nieces for graduation was her book, Fire for Dummies.
I love it.
And we gave them cash and a little outline of this is how it will compound if you put this in the market and invest it. Now, and you could be a millionaire in 40 years if you do this. And it's very poignant. And they were at the age where it's like, wow, yeah, this is important. I can do this. And then another thing I gave them, which was a novel idea because we'd created a donor advised fund. And I asked them, I want to give you money to give to your favorite charity. And so I said, just give me your charity and we'll donate to them and give you credit. And so, yeah, it was appreciated shares to a nonprofit that one of them liked horses and she wanted to give to a rescue horse thing. The other one wants to save the environment. And it was meaningful to them. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't something that was going to clutter their house. And it was like paying it forward and paying it forward again through them. And maybe it's not sexy for a lot of and kids like things, but I think trying to take the focus away from things is important.
That's such a good point, actually, because what I've been seeing from a spending perspective is that younger people like experiences over things. Because a lot of young people are living, they've graduated from college, they're looking for work, they're living back with their parents, they don't have their own space, or if they have one, it's very small. So they prefer to do things. So I think I always talk about this in terms of experiences, maybe something you can do with them or something they can do with their friends. Maybe it's tickets to an ice skating rink, or you take them for a hike or go on a budget friendly trip, something like that. But I love this idea that you're empowering them to invest, or you're helping them support their favorite charity. We were talking about browser extensions, and there's a really cool browser extension called Give Freely, which as a consumer, it allows you to name your favorite charity. And as you're shopping, it'll make incremental investments into your favorite charity just by shopping, like at no expense to you, which I love. And I've linked Threadneedle Alley to that because I'm like, oh, maybe people can shop and give to Threadneedle Alley too. So that's a really cool one too, as from browser extensions.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned acorns. I learned a really important lesson when it came to, because most of us, we're fairly savvy and we know how to set up a regular account. But with kids or people just starting out, these little small micro investments are so helpful. I remember how excited my daughter was when she found out about acorns, and she brought it to me. And my initial thought was like, oh, I just invest with Fidelity or Schwab. I don't need that. And then I thought about it again. I ended up getting the app because I could invest along with her. And I just kept asking her a million questions. I'm like, well, how do you know what to invest in? How does it know how much every month? How do you know how you're doing? And she showed me all of that. And like you said, we do not give them enough credit for knowing this stuff, but it was sort of, we bonded over something like that. So instead of me sort of discounting it and saying, I don't use that, what a great way to get her started. And there were moments where I did send her gifts and I said, put this in your acorns. So little stuff like that, it really does help, because we got big bucks these days compared to them. And for even just a few bucks, it goes a long way. And it's creating the habit and building the habit. And luckily to this day, she's not afraid of investing like I was when I was her age.
I mean, what a gift that is, right? Like, I was so intimidated as I was coming up. Like, I didn't understand investing, and investing is not a strength of mine even. So it's like, I have a financial advisor who helps me do that, because I don't feel like I'm that savvy in terms of choosing funds to invest in, right? So like, I have to pay someone to help me. I use Acorns, and I love talking about Acorns or those incremental savings apps for that reason, just because if you're more of a layman or you don't want to kind of know every single business that you're investing in, this is a really easy way to start saving. And hopefully, obviously, you become more empowered and more knowledgeable down the road, and you can take that money you've saved and move that into more strategic investing. But it's really good for the layman, I think.
Yeah, and all this online stuff and shopping is online, and there's a lot of shopping psychology online, because they're taking our metadata and we're bombarded with, oh yeah, this is right up your alley. And then we have one-click shopping where it doesn't take a second to like spend money, and all of a sudden it's flying out the window, and you're in trouble when all the Amazon boxes are showing up at the house. You may have gone overboard. How do we approach the psychology of online spending and manage that one-click mentality that the companies want us to use?
Yeah. So first of all, if you've got a shopping problem and you know who you are, if you're watching, I would disconnect your payment details from every platform that you're shopping on. So to give yourself a little friction every time you're preparing to shop, you have to take out your credit card and enter your number again. That act alone can sometimes help prevent you from going overboard. I also do, we talked about creating a shopping list for your recipients around the holidays and adding yourself to that list. If you have a shopping problem, you should set an allowance or a boundary for yourself for shopping every single month, because if you can only spend X dollars, you're going to spend much more mindfully versus just like, oh, let me treat myself today, it's Black Friday. No, you only have $50 to spend. So you have to think like, oh, do I really need that skirt, or should I spend that $50 somewhere else? So it just helps you pause a little bit. And I think that pause, that mindfulness can really help prevent you from going overboard, and holding yourself accountable by setting that allowance for yourself can be all you need not to go overboard every month.
Yeah, one thing that I learned from a friend, especially with big purchases, is okay, go window shopping, get excited, but try not to get emotional. And then it's always important to maybe sleep on it. Put,
Mm, mhm.
put it in your wish list. Say, you know what? I'll come back to this tomorrow or 2 days or 3 days from now. And if you're still thinking about it, and it becomes, and it's not just a want, it becomes a need or a useful item. And maybe you're spending more on less so you have less clutter and it lasts longer. I think putting that space between emotion and action is really important in a lot of things in life, with investing and with shopping and spending, right?
Yeah, I agree. I love that. I love giving yourself a little bit of room, that dropping it in your cart and leaving it overnight. And sometimes some retailers will send you a coupon when that item's sitting in the cart. They're like, "Did you leave something behind? Now you can have 20% off." So that happens, which, is one of those kind of games that retailers will play because they see that you've maybe walked away and they want to bring you back in. Something else to be mindful of too when you're shopping are these kind of BOGO offers. You buy two, get one free. But if you're going to jump on something like that, especially around the holiday shopping season, just really step back and think, do I need three of those? Like, probably not. Just ask yourself the question, give yourself time to breathe and see if that want becomes a need.
I got sucked in by that too. The buy two, get one free. And I've finally broken away to say, I don't need all of those. I'm just going to pay regular price for the one that I do need. It's so much psychology around the gift giving, especially around the holidays. And I just remember one of the things that formed me, I grew up pretty poor, so we didn't always get Christmas gifts. And I remember when I became an adult, I graduated from college and I was making decent money. And every single year, I have 5 siblings. I got all 5 siblings a gift. And I had moved away from home, so I'm mailing these gifts. 5 gifts for all of my siblings and gifts for all of my nieces and nephews. And I had 11 of them. So it felt good. I didn't expect anything in return, nor did I ever get any gifts in return. I didn't want that. So I don't know how I broke out of that. I think I finally went to gift cards and then I finally got over it. But it was probably almost 15 years that I did that every single Christmas holiday to make sure that they had something. And then they never felt like I did, when we were growing up. So that psychological pull is really strong.
Oh, absolutely. I call that a financial trap, like a spending trap. That's one of those things where you're like, you want to give, you want to do for others, you're successful. And so it feels good, like I can do this. And then you realize as the family grows, like, wow, my gosh, I'm spending so much money right now. And so I think if you're in that situation, say if you were having reciprocal giving, right? Like maybe you're like, okay, we don't need to buy for all 5 siblings. Let's draw names this year, or let's only buy for the kids, or let's only buy for the elders. I think that's really good to set those boundaries. But in your situation, you were doing something that felt really good for you to do. And so it was up to you to decide like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like I've done it for this many years and let me back out of it. Because I think we fall into these spending traps. And then, in January, February, we're getting these credit card bills and we're like, oh my, what did I do? I think it's okay to have the conversation with your coworkers, with your family members, and change the tradition. And, I think that at least one other person in that group will be really happy that you mentioned it and they didn't have to. But changing those traditions, I think, is hard, but really important to do, especially if your finances are tight.
Yeah, and people forget that you don't just have to give things. You can give to charity, but you can also just give time. What does a kid really want? They want time with you. Okay, we're going to go to this theme park, and that's our day together. And that's the big gift. That may be the only gift. Or we're going to go bowling. We're going to go have dinner together, just us. And it's going to be like a date where you're not distracted by anything else. And it'll be a memory that carries forward when the thing has long since lost its hedonic adaptation treadmill thing, where it just gets discarded and forgotten about and has no meaning longer than the dopamine hit.
And I think too, with social media, Kids love those moments, right? You're at the theme park together, everyone's taking pictures, they can post, and then they always have that memory. I think those experiences are really good. And again, like I'm just seeing such an increasing interest in experiences over things with younger people.
And the other thing I think is really challenging is the companies come out with new models, better models, new
Mm.
whizzkings, the big, bright, shiny object, and we're driven to want to upgrade. Oh, yeah, I need a new iPhone every year. How do you create the habit where, you know what? This is good enough. This is going to last me for 10 years. I mean, I had a computer before this one where I just couldn't update the software anymore. So I had to get a new one and
Mm.
faster one so that I could do what I needed to do in modern life. But I managed to have a computer for 10 years, which is like owning a car for 10 years. This is a big expense.
Hmm. Oh, for me, I have a similar approach. Like I use something until it's like not necessarily on its last legs, but if like I can't install those apps that I need or whatever it is, then it's time to look. We drive our car, we pay our cars off and we drive them and drive them and drive them and then we sell them. You don't have to have that new shiny thing. And I think a lot of that is like some of that is in us and we feel the need, but then other times it's about keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like I live in Montclair, New Jersey, and it's an affluent town. We have one of the smaller houses amongst all the people I know. And like friends used to come over to visit my daughter, kids, and they'd be like, where's the rest of your house? And then you have to have that conversation with your kids. Like, why is our house smaller than Johnny's house? Or why are they getting that huge bear for Valentine's Day instead of this tiny little bear with some chocolates in it, and creating that sense of your own values within your family. And so I think it's like part of it is with us, and then part of it is what we see. And like, I need to get that new car and I need to bump up the size of my house. And then you're drowning under your mortgage and that doesn't help. So I'd rather, pay it off, be debt free when it makes sense, of course, and just use those devices until they need replacing versus like, I need that new shiny phone because of why.
So you talked about, waking up in January and starting to get the credit card bills. So
Mm,
now I have definitely noticed some new payment options that's been all
mm,
over the place. And there's been a huge surge in using these buy now, pay later, I guess they're short-term loans, and these companies like Klarna and places like that. What do you think about those? Are those still like ratcheting up? And is that causing some people to overspend as well because it's made so easy to break up their purchase into payment?
Yeah, so I've been hearing that usage for buy now, pay later is ticking up a little bit this year because I think people are struggling financially. But what I'm seeing in the numbers is that spending is going to be up this year. And that concerns me, obviously. If you don't have the money and you're spending it anyway, buy now, pay later does allow you to spend money that you don't have immediately. And that's problematic. However, in general, buy now, pay later, I think is helpful if you fully understand what's expected of you once you've signed on the dotted line. If you have to take that purchase and break it up into four pieces, can you do that financially? And if the answer is yes, and you only have maybe one thing that you've bought that way, maybe it's a home appliance, for example, a big purchase, I'm okay with that. What concerns me is multiple buy now, pay later purchases, because how do you manage all of that, right? And then also using buy now, pay later as like a stopgap, but not being fully prepared to pay it off when you're supposed to, that can ding your credit. It's not a good place to be. So I think that if you're approaching it from a very responsible place, I think buy now, pay later is fine. I was very troubled to hear that I think it was DoorDash a few months ago had partnered with buy now, pay later platform. I was like, what are we talking
It's
about?
like you're financing your Chipotle.
Right? Like if you can't pay for your Chipotle and you need to break it up over four payments, like we have a big problem. So I was very unhappy to see that. But for me, a big purchase, buy now, pay later is totally fine. You're prepared to pay it off in those four pieces, great. But beyond that, it's a little bit troubling.
Yeah, and we have the 50-year mortgage now. I mean, it's a
About
buy
that.
now, pay forever. I
Yeah.
mean,
I see that
you will
happening.
die with a mortgage sometimes if you do this because the average age of a new home buyer now is 40. It's gone way up. And
Yeah.
what would 40-year-olds be doing with a 50-year mortgage? I'm very concerned about whether this is, because our whole psychology is geared towards let's generate more economy, let's spend. And it's never going to stop. Especially in America, we become debt anesthetic. It's like debt is a way of life. We're bringing future spending forward because we don't want to pre-save. We want all this stuff now, and we do it en masse. I mean, our culture seems to be educated differently because of how we're bombarded as to other cultures that I see elsewhere in the world. Where like, they're much more prudent. How do we overcome this on more of a national scale? Because it's out of control.
It's out of control.
No, now he's asking you to be an economist,
yeah,
right?
which I'm not. Like I am, a 50-year mortgage, I'm like, full stop. If you need a 50-year mortgage, you are not in a position to buy a home. And there's nothing wrong with renting. Renting can actually be financially beneficial and responsible. Like where I live, where the property taxes are through the roof, renting is actually, in my opinion, a better idea. We bought early, we're in a good spot. But like right now, if I didn't have 30%, 20% to put down on this house and I needed a 50-year mortgage, like I'm in no position to buy that house. And I just think we need to change our mindset about what we need to own, first of all, and like how big that thing needs to be. And if you're drowning under your mortgages and your car lease and all of that, like you're not succeeding, you're failing. And if you're dragging debt from month to month on your credit cards, again, like that's not success. Just because you were able to buy for the 50 people on your list, that's not success if you're carrying that debt forward. Because like you said, Bill, like, all the spending efforts that you made to get to that Black Friday deal, and then you're carrying it forward for 6 months, you basically negated any efforts that you made to save money. So I just think like we do need a mindset change in general in terms of what debt means in our lives.
All right, Jackie, you have a story to tell. You checked out our sponsor, The Alloy Market, with a little gold bar that you sold them. How did that work out for you?
That's right, Bill. The short answer is it worked out great. I was really kind of surprised at how seamless the process was. I just ordered the kit online. They had it to me within days. I put the gold in the package, mailed it out, and almost instantly they notified me it was on the way. They told me when they received it, and they finally gave me a quote. And do you know how much I got for it?
No, Jackie, how much you get?
Well, I got $285. And you know where that's going. That is going in my new grandbaby's 529 plan. And I was, again, very surprised at how seamless the process was.
All right, that's thealloymarket.com. You can declutter this season with your gold, silver, and platinum. Where do we go, Jackie?
Yeah, and here's a bonus. If what you send in is worth more than $199, you will get a $15 bonus. Just enter the code CUTOFI15 and get your bonus.
What do you think about popular in the FI movement is no spend February? You go into sort of a crash diet, so to speak, and for the month of February, probably because it's only 28 days and you can get through it easier. You only buy food and the necessities. Are these psychologically good things? Is it like a colonoscopy where you purge yourself of all these spending habits? Do you think these things are good things, or is it like a deprivation practice that can be dysfunctional?
Yeah. So to me, that's diet mentality. And I don't love that. Like, I think abstaining and like I'm only buying my essentials for 28 days and now I have 14 days left and I'm there and then it's over and then it's like you go crazy. Like I have a lot of friends who do dry January and without question, February 1st, everyone's drinking like crazy. Like I just don't think that's the approach. Like I'm more of a everything in moderation person. If you feel that you're overspending, you need to slightly dial back to a more moderate place. And that same thing goes for eating, same thing goes for drinking. Like I just think moderation and maintaining that moderate level is a healthier approach rather than like the starvation and binging approach to like the no spend February. And I understand this may be like an unpopular approach in the community, but I don't like that abstinence mentality for anything.
Yeah, and I think that the whole issue with debt, that's probably one of the biggest issues that people deal with when they're trying to approach financial independence, because that's just like a bag of rocks that you're carrying. And if they can get over this whole, it primarily high interest consumer debt, it will just drag you down. So once someone's over that hump where they're dealing with their debt, that is so powerful. But I appreciate your balanced take on the buy now, pay later. I know Bill, he hates them and he's a little biased, but I have a confession to make. So I did use sort of a buy now, pay later. And here's Trae, I think you kind of gave me the thumbs up on this, but you do it mindfully. Like, I believe people in our audience and people that's listening to this, they have to use a logical thought process. And it's very easy to immediately say, no, don't do that. But if you're thinking through it, where it might make sense. So because of these buy now, pay later companies, these credit cards has gotten on it. So all of my existing credit cards, they're offering 0%, no fees, and everything for like 12 or 24 months. So when I got some renovations done to my house, I got this offer, and I'm like, so 0% interest, no fee or anything. I'm not out anything. Sure, I'll spread it over 24 months. So, but I logically thought through that, and it made sense to me. But it's only because the buy now, pay laters have gotten so big. So credit card companies are looking at them sideways saying, wait a minute, we don't want to be losing our customers using our credit cards because of this. So that is something that I did, but I set it up in a way that I'm still not paying anything extra. And I would have just taken money out of my investments account or something. And I just decided to spread it out a little.
And that way it's sitting in your investments, still growing. I'm actually a fan of that. So we did that with our HVAC system. We had an offer over 7 years, 0 interest. And I was like, well, I'd rather do it that way with 0 interest than take money out of my investments to pay for it right now. So that made sense to me. But again, it's really all about that responsible approach. Can you stick to that payment plan? And if you can, I think it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, that requires a discipline and a habit and sort of intentional approach. Okay. And that's hard to do because it's like you may end up spending that money. You may do a 0% for 7 years, and then the money in your budget that you're planning on doing for that gets spent elsewhere. And that can be a fail. It's kind of dangerous, I think. And one thing I think we should do for our audience, Jackie, and bring Trae into this is, what are some of the biggest spending fails we've had where, it didn't work out as we thought, it was a bigger expense, we have regret, what are we going to do with this? And I'll start, okay? Christmas, we were like, okay, our kids, they need an Apple Watch. We decided they needed an Apple Watch. We didn't really think it through and say, you know what, are they going to use it? Is it going to fall into their repertoire? It's a bit of a status thing. And these are like $300 to $500 or more expenses. Well, we gave them Apple Watches on Christmas. They've never worn them. And they're in a drawer somewhere. I don't know where they are. There's a huge fail. And the only lesson learned was, you know what? You've got to think through their eyes. Is it going to be incorporated into the lifestyle? Is it actually something they want? Or are you just spending money for sort of, everybody has one, therefore you should have one?
Can I buy the Apple Watch off of you? I've been looking for an Apple Watch. I'd love to buy it off of you.
Well, you know what? I'm going to have to find it. And then maybe it could be a good gift, because in the end, what that is, the name for that is a sunk cost. You've spent the money, and are you going to regret the loss, or are you going to repurpose it and say, you know what? Okay, I'll take the depreciation hit. I'll sell it on Facebook Marketplace, and I'll get $200 for it because it's in the brand new box. And then we should talk about this resale market, because when we downsized from our big doctor house with all this big doctor toys and furniture, and I might say the smaller house has an advantage because we naturally, through entropy, will fill that box up until it's overflowing, and then we'll get a storage container because our box is full. So if you buy a smaller box, you're going to have less of a problem with shopping. But in decluttering and downsizing, like late starters, I really encourage you to do this. Use Facebook Marketplace or estate sales, and people are very interested in this stuff. You see the cars lined up out in front of the houses, especially when it's in a nice neighborhood. Well, you're going to get a crowd because they know that your stuff is going to have been good stuff.
I love that idea. I love selling things that you don't need. I talk about this kind of early in the holiday shopping season about how to create a holiday shopping fund if you haven't done it already. And that's like selling some things that you don't need. There's a company called Alloy Market, which I believe you guys know. So they specialize in golds. And so if you happen to have, maybe you've inherited some jewelry, gold jewelry that you don't wear, or you've purchase pieces over the years that are no longer your style, they make it really easy to sell that gold to them. And gold is at a premium right now. That's a really good way to generate some very quick cash. MPB that I mentioned, the camera site, if you have a camera sitting in your basement that you're not using, they will buy it from you. And then you mentioned Facebook Marketplace. That's more like creating your own sale, direct with the consumer. So they're kind of two buckets of this resale market. It's like the companies that will buy the product directly from you, which is quick and easy, or you can create a sale with someone in your town or a couple towns away to buy that table that you no longer need. So there are a lot of different ways to sell your unwanted things to generate some cash.
Yeah, I did that, Bill. I've been experimenting with alloy, and I had this little 2.5 grams of gold. I knew it was at an all-time high. Finally got it sold, $285. So I'm happy for
Really?
that.
Oh my God, your experiment paid off. So what are you going to
Yes.
do with the money, Jackie?
Actually, my new grandbaby will be getting more money in her 529. I think that's what I'm going to do with it, because I'm done with all the clutter and the big gifts and things like that. I'm all about experiences. I'm hanging out with my aunt, and you know what brings her the greatest joy is for me to be driving wherever she wants to go, so she doesn't have to drive, and just hang out, and we catch up on everything. I'll show her pictures of the baby. That is like priceless for her. I was stuck in that mode for a long time, buying everybody gifts, but I just don't anymore.
But Jackie, what was your biggest shopping fail?
Oh God. I think it probably was being kept psychologically hostage when I was buying gifts for all of my 5 siblings and all of their kids. I don't regret making them happy and giving them a little something extra for Christmas, but I think there was a little bit of guilt. There was a little bit of knowing how I felt when I was that young and didn't get gifts so many times that year. Now I'd rather, like, if I'm coming to visit, hey, I'll pick up the tab for everybody when we go to lunch or go to one of our favorite places or something like that. So that was a fail in terms of I was using money to overcompensate for other things.
Mm.
All right, Trae, you got to tell. You are the shopping expert, but you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Give us a couple of fails, a big one or other small ones, where our audience can learn from your failures.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the period of my life that I talked about before in my early 20s, which I was just kind of like living and buying and really dug myself into a hole. Like that was one. And then there was a time when I was kind of in between things and money was tight. I'd left my beauty company and I was getting ready to kind of embark on this, which I knew was coming. Like I had a sense that something amazing was coming, but I kind of kept living the same way. And I think that's really hard for people when your financial situation has changed and yet you're in this social circle where everyone's renting a house in the summer or someone's getting married in Jamaica and you're like, you want to do all the things and you don't want to have that FOMO, that fear of missing out, so kind of agreeing to do these things that I knew were financially burdensome for me at the time, that was definitely a fail. I think, sometimes we have to be kind to ourselves and like maybe put something on a credit card sometimes so you can enjoy those moments with your friends. But I also think it's okay to set boundaries with people and say, hey, like, it's really just too hard for me to get out to Jamaica for your wedding. Like I'm going to have to miss it because it's like, I'll be paying that off for months. So that, I think those are my fails. It's like more like just going with the flow of things when I really had no business doing that at that particular time.
That's a good point because knowing your limits, like for example, in the wedding season of growing up, you got all those bridesmaids dresses, you got all the wedding gifts, you got the travel to the destination wedding, and that's a huge expense. And there's a way, I think, to artfully say, no, I can't do this, but I can do this instead, which is within my means. And you're sort of teaching prudence, but you may be missing out on experience. So there's trade-offs here. Just like Paula Pant says, you can afford anything, but not everything.
Mm-hmm.
What are the common fails that you see, Trae? Because you talk to a lot of people, you analyze, consumer shopping and things like that. What are some of the common fails that you see happen again and again?
I think it's a lot about what we've talked about, this kind of consumerism mindset where you have to feel like the new season's coming, like you getting a new wardrobe. And it's like, no, you don't actually need a new wardrobe, especially if you're in middle age. Like you probably have plenty of things in the back of your closet that you've never worn that you pull them out and they feel new again. So I think that's like the big fail that people fall into. And the other thing that we talked about was like the new shiny thing, upgrading that phone before it's time, the laptop. You don't need that brand new flashy thing. Who cares if your laptop doesn't have a touch screen? Like, do you actually really need that? Or is it doing the job for you that you need it to do? You don't need a new laptop. So I just think sometimes we have to have those conversations with ourselves. I see a lot of friends, they're buying all their cheese if they're having friends over at the fancy cheeses at the fancy cheese shop at like $30 a pound, when you could kind of break that up and do some of it at Trader Joe's. Maybe you get one special cheese at the cheese shop, get the store brand of a couple. Like you don't have to do everything fancy. I just think like I've been able to save so much money over the years just by not doing everything fancy. And it's what you do with it that matters.
I mean, all of these little purchases, these sort of dopamine hits of buying things, they compound and they compound against you. So managing the little things plugs the leaks in the bucket so that you can fill it up faster potentially. And then managing the big things like we talked about. I've seen people all the time getting these brand new luxury vehicles, the Suburbans and stuff. They're like $80,000 and $100,000 now, and the payments are huge. And then you wake up and go, wait, why did I do this? It's taken away from my ability to invest and save. Well, then you got to admit that you made a mistake. This is not a good thing. I'm going to have to sell this car and then buy something used and pay for it with cash. So all of a sudden I have more cash flow to invest. And that's things we did. My wife and I, we leased cars, we bought new cars, and now the cars are 3 to 5 years old. We drive them for 10 years, and all the money we didn't spend on payments or more expensive cars went into investing, and we became Fi faster. I'm going to announce it now. I found out recently, after 8 years of hard work, we're Fi. It's a beautiful thing. And I want this for everybody. You can do it. Jackie did it. We did it. And doing these little things and the big things, they will get you there. Right, Trae?
They absolutely will. It's funny, we're looking at a new car right now, and I have a couple friends who are like, oh, you want a hybrid? BMW has a hybrid and Porsche has a hybrid. I'm like, no, I'm looking at the Subaru and the Toyota, and I'm be paying for it in cash. Thank you so much. And I probably drive everyone around me crazy just because I don't need the Porsche. I found a perfectly lovely car that I can pay for in cash. I don't need to take a lease or get financing on it. I just would prefer to live in that space versus drowning under my mortgage of my big house or my fancy car.
So Trae, you have hit on so many cool things when it comes to shopping. Can you give us like 3 of the best things around shopping, the best tips in the Trae Bodge playbook when it comes to shopping, especially holiday shopping, because we're in December? And then I want to hear about that great nonprofit and the grants that you're offering. So let's go.
Yeah. So, shopping around the holidays, it's actually pretty easy to save money because there are sales just rolling throughout the season. So, number 1, wait for a sale. Number 2, use some sort of technology to help you save even more, whether it's a browser plugin or AI. And then number 3, and maybe this is maybe 3 and 4, make sure that you're belonging to those loyalty programs from your retailers and using the credit card that's helping you earn points or miles so you're getting more bang for your buck. That's kind of like my playbook for getting the best price as much as possible.
Awesome. Well, I love the nonprofit. I believe it was named after your mom. Can you tell us the name, the website, and what cool new thing are you guys doing for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so thank you so much for giving me a platform to talk about this. This is a brand new nonprofit that my 2 family members and I started this year. It's called Threadneedle Alley Foundation. And we named Threadneedle Alley Foundation after the street that my mom's store was on when I grew up. She had a little beauty shop on Threadneedle Alley for more than 2 decades. And I grew up working in that store, learning from her. She was like, to me, the OG entrepreneur. And then throughout her whole life, she continued to innovate, and she's just an incredible entrepreneur. She passed away a couple of years ago, and we just thought, like, what can we do to honor this incredible person? And we really kind of honed in on the midlife entrepreneur space. We feel like this is such an interesting cohort. You have decades of experience under your belt, whether it's in the professional world or you've been raising kids. You're maybe ready for your second act. You're starting this little business. And so we've established 3 $5,000 grants every year that we're funding ourselves. And we also have a bench of more than 20 midlife entrepreneur mentors who will be available and accessible to our winners. And we have certified financial planners, we have publicists, we have graphic designers, we have SEO experts. Basically, any question you'll encounter as an entrepreneur, we have someone who can answer it. We'll be checking in regularly with our winners and helping them succeed. And we'll be doing this every year. And actually, the grants are open. We've already exceeded what my little goal was for grant application. So I'm really excited. But the grants are open until December 31st. You can go to threadneedlealley.org for grant updates and more information for the application. And I definitely recommend following us on Instagram at threadneedlealley.org, because we share a lot of tips and tricks for entrepreneurs and reminders about the grants and things like that. And so that's what we're doing. And we'll be announcing our winners on February 15th of 2026, which would have been my mom's birthday. And so we are very, very excited to support these midlife entrepreneurs who are facing financial challenges. That is a requirement. Obviously, you don't need the $5,000, then, this is not the grant for you. They need to be US based. But otherwise, I think I've given all the relevant information, but, visit threadneedlealley.org for more info, and email us as well, because we're accessible that way.
That sounds fantastic. Trae, your comments on this brand new charity, nonprofit foundation in honor of your mom and in support of midlife entrepreneurs has really moved me. So here I am. If you're looking on video, I just pulled out my little donor advised fund app. This is so easy to do. I encourage people to donate appreciated shares, and they transfer through to the charity without any taxes. So you can give, what you've earned and grown, and then it grows for them. So let's see. I just got to punch it in, look up Threadneedle Alley Foundation. Threadneedle is one word. There it is in Montclair, New Jersey. And then there we go. I'm just going to click a couple buttons. Yep, it's there.
I will make a donation as well, because I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah, we encourage you to, as part of your saving plan, financial life, to create a giving plan. And there's lots of ways to do it. We've talked about some of them today. You can be very creative with it. And then look at that. It's like, rather than go shopping, I just bought part of a foundation, and I'm going to make a difference for an entrepreneur. How good is that?
Yay.
I love it. So thank you both so much for the support. We're brand new, so we're so excited. And, we're really looking to fundraise this year so we can do more things, bigger grants, more support for our midlife entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I love to donate to very high impact, low overhead charities through our donor advised fund throughout the year in little aliquots. Then we create a list of all our donations of the smaller amounts. And then my family and I on Giving Tuesday, which maybe is today, but before the end of the year, we get together and say, okay, which ones mean the most to us? Let's make a bigger donation.
So, I love this donor advised fund idea too, Bill. So my friend has one and I don't have one. So you've inspired me. I need to look into that.
Well, this is a bit of FOMO that everybody should have. I recommend for it, a great way to do it is through Fidelity. They do a really good job. And just like with HSAs for Jackie, I wouldn't go anywhere else for a donor advised fund. There are others, but Fidelity is my go-to. All right, guys, as we wrap up the show, one of the reasons you're on with us today is because we are collaborators. We are part of a Fin network. Our audience may not know exactly what that is, but this is a new idea, but from Lynette Calfani-Cox and her husband, Earl Cox. This is a new way of getting messages for valuable brands that we support, we believe in, and support us out to our audiences on multimedia platforms across the spectrum of influencing. What's it like for you to be involved with this?
Oh, well, I've known Lynette and Earl for a really long time, and, we've often talked about how can we work together? What can we do to collaborate? And so when she came to me with this, I was like, oh, hell yes, I'm there. So excited to support her in any way. But they have such a good idea. They've vetted these experts and you guys and me and so many amazing people. And we're going to be collaborating in so many different ways. If you're a brand, if you're a company out there looking to bring visibility to your company, this is a great resource for you because you have this huge cohort of vetted experts that will be pushing out content and talking about your product once we vetted it, of course, because we're very serious about what we do, of course. But yeah, this has been a great experience so far. I mean, it's fairly new. We'll just continue to grow and explore the different opportunities within Fin. But like, this is how I met you guys, right? Like, how cool is this on its own?
Yeah, and I think we're all very focused on financial education and anything that is going to amplify that to get more eyes and ears on learning about personal finance, whether it's shopping, spending, or someone that's trying to catch up to and are late on their financial independence journey. So anything that can amplify that, I'm all about it. And you do amazing work. Like I said, you're all over major media, sharing all of your knowledge. We are so grateful that you gave us a little bit of your time today around this busy season. I'm sure it's very, very busy for you this time of year, but this has been extraordinary. And I do love the way that you are honoring your mother. That is so beautiful. And so I definitely wanted you to talk about that. So for our audience, apply for that grant. It's an amazing opportunity. Entrepreneurship obviously has been, something that has lived throughout your life. And I love entrepreneurs. Bill, you may not feel like it, but you and I are entrepreneurs at this point as well.
You are.
Yeah, we're doing what we love and what we're passionate about. And, it was just great kind of getting your take on the shopping season because that falls squarely within people's financial independence journey because spending oftentimes is that big issue. So as we leave you today, we want to tell you happy Thanksgiving. This will probably air after, but also Merry Christmas and happy holidays or whatever you celebrate. And thank you for sharing everything that you shared today. Bill, I'll let you close us out.
Yeah, I mean, we want to talk about everything's important to our financial life. And shopping is a big deal. I mean, that is something that we need to control. We need to create healthy habits for ourselves, for our kids. We need to find ways to put friction in our lives so that we can alter dysfunctional habits that are working against us. And as Jackie said, burdening us with the weight of things that are hard to carry around. So Trae has given us hope, given us means, given us tips, tricks, and hacks. And we really appreciate you being with us here today on the show, Trae.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for the great conversation.
All right. We'll see you guys next week and maybe in the new year on Catching Up to 5.
So, Bill, as you know, we cannot do this show without our amazing staff and the people that help us put this on. And our editor is Fritz Brazard. We love them and they keep us going.
Yeah, Jackie, I mean, this show wouldn't have the quality it has without our folks, our peeps. And we'd also like to give you a few calls to action for the show. We love our community and we hope you love us back. If you would like to support the show and our mission to help late starters, you can do that at Buy Me a Coffee, which is a platform that allows you to make a donation. The link is in the show notes and on the website.
Check out the show notes for resources mentioned in today's show. Also, head on over to our website at catchinguptofy.com and check out our vetted resources, partners, and affiliates for discounts and their services because we love sharing great deals.
Please share the show with others and head on over to our Facebook community to help us grow. If you prefer video, head on over to YouTube and watch the show there. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Catching Up to 5. We would appreciate it if you could also leave us a 5-star review to help our message reach others.
And while we are financial educators that love to teach, remember that our content is for general education and information purposes only. We are not providing financial, legal, or tax advice. Always do your own research or consult a professional before making important decisions.
So, Jackie, we'll see our audience next time on Catching Up to 5. Cheers.